long-awaited biscuit test. We'll fire up the smoker next on Ben's Smokehouse.
That smokehouse, barbecue and soul, where the smokes in the meats and the sides take control. Collard greens, mac and cheese, cornbread's fine. Catering lord to make your good time shine. Baked beans bubbling, greens so right. Every bite's a southern delight. From the smoker to your plate, it's true. Ben's brings the soul of barbecue. Ben's Smokehouse, barbecue and soul, where the smokes in the meats and the sides take control.
YouTube, we are back with another video. Today is Saturday, May 24th, 2025, and today is our long-awaited biscuit test. We're going to attempt to do a biscuit test on the pit today. It's always exciting when we can fire up the pit. It's only my second time firing it up. I did light it once before, and you can check that out on the earlier video when we did our burn test. But today we'll be doing a biscuit test to determine where the hot spots are on the smoker. We are in the back of the smokehouse. As you can see, the pit over there is ready. Clean the ashes out of the firebox. We have our post oak wood ready. We have our torch, and of course our biscuits. Got a little Pam spray to spray on the grate so the biscuits don't stick to it. And over here is our chimney, which we'll use to start the fire. We are all set, and we'll get ready to start this biscuit test. Get the fire lit, and let's see how it goes, how it plays out. It'll be interesting to see where the hot spots are on this pit. Definitely want to make sure we can do that. We want to spread the biscuits. We want to spread the biscuits across all of the grates evenly, just to get an idea of which areas get hotter than others. So for instance, if I'm cooking some chicken that needs to cook a little faster, I can put it on a warmer spot. Something that I want to be low and slow, like a brisket, pulled pork, some ribs, make sure it's on a spot that doesn't get as hot. Some smokers, everything cooks evenly depending on how it was engineered and put together. So we're going to find out how this baby performs for the first time today, and looking forward to it. I'm glad we could bring you guys along for the journey. Our next step after the biscuit test will be to actually cook some real food on this pit. So I'm just excited. This is like a toy for me that I never got to use. So this is an exciting day for me. And I'm glad you guys can be witness of some of my first cooks on this smoker. I have a lot of experience cooking on smokers, but not this in particular smoker. And everyone behaves differently. So I'm going to do a lot of practicing before this place opens, and get it perfect and nailed down before we open our doors to anyone and actually sell any barbecue. I want people to come here and have the best brisket, ribs, pulled pork, smoked turkey, chicken wings in the area. And I want people in the neighborhood to enjoy it and know that this is a place that they can come get some great food. So with all that being said, let's get our fire started. So now that we have charcoal in the chimney, we're going to get our torch, light it, let the charcoals get nice and red and hot, throw them in the firebox, and then once you put them in the firebox, we're going to build a nice coal bed in here, in the firebox, so that it can warm up the entire pit. To get up to about maybe 325 to 350, so it can bake these biscuits. And that's what we'll do next. We'll light the fire, let the fire get nice and hot, dump the coals in the firebox, and then we'll start adding wood. Then we'll chop the wood up as it turns into embers, create a nice coal bed. and then we'll be ready to get this thing up to temperature in order to cook these biscuits. The first thing I'm going to do is spray a little Pam spray on the grates, just so the biscuits don't stick. You don't want biscuits sticking to the grates, so we're going to put a little Pam spray on it. There you go, nice decent coat. Keep it from sticking. Now our torch lit, and now it's time to light the chimney. So we're gonna let these coals get nice and hot. It'll take a few minutes, and then we'll start to get the fire going in the firebox, and then off to the biscuit test we go. So we'll give it a few minutes, probably about 10 minutes, to really get these coals nice and hot. This is just one of the ways I like to start my fire. Other people, they'll just take the torch directly to a piece of wood and start it that way. So everyone does it different. It's just my method. You can do it however you like, but I find this the easiest way to do it. So we just still waiting for the chimney to warm up so that we can put the coals into the firebox and get the fire started. Probably need a few more minutes, and then we'll be ready to go. And we'll start applying the biscuits across the smoker, across the entire grate cooking space, and we'll be off and ready to go. Just a few more minutes. So we've transferred our coals into the firebox, and we applied some wood as well. See, it's catching, so we're gonna let that burn a bit, and that wood will turn into embers, and then we'll break it down and it'll become part of the coal bed. All right, we got a nice fire going. Let's take a look at the temperature gauges now. Let's see which area is hotter based on what we're seeing from the gauges. Okay, the first gauge here, closest to the firebox, hasn't hit 150 yet. It's probably around 140 degrees. The second temperature gauge is right around 125. The third temperature gauge is at 150. So it looks like this is going to be our hottest spot, which makes sense because it's next to the smokestack where you're getting all of that draw. And this appears to be the hottest spot on the pit. So we're learning something already just from monitoring each temperature gauge along the pit. Always want to monitor your fire, make sure it doesn't spiral out of control. But right now we're good. Temperatures, our highest temperature is now around 190, approaching the 200 mark. The one closest to the smokestack, the one in the middle, yeah, just above 150, about 160. And then the one on this end is about 175. So it looks like the middle is the coolest, has the coolest temperatures. This has the second warmest temperatures closest to the firebox, and near the stack on the end has the hottest temperature. So that's where we are. That's where we stand so far. So I'm expecting to see a lot of burnt up biscuits on this end. And we might cook the most perfect ones here. And then these might be a little brown based on what I'm seeing on temperature readings. We want to get these temperatures up to about 275. And then I'll start putting the biscuits on. Typically, when we do barbecue, we want to keep temperatures around 250 for low and slow anyway. So, finding the sweet spot between the damper and the firebox, how much oxygen we let in on the firebox, and how often you add wood to the fire can kind of get you a sweet spot where you're burning the least amount of wood and you're getting the longest burn out of them. And that's what you want to get. You want to be very efficient so that you're not just burning through wood. And that's the education and the learning as we get to know this smoker. And one thing I'm noticing is it takes a very long time to get a huge pit like this up to temperature versus a much smaller pit is what I normally use and smoke on. So I think once we get the temperature, maintain that temperature, we'll be fine. But we finally hit 200 on one, almost 200 here, and right at 200 there. So you know what? It is almost pretty even now that it's getting up to temperature. It's getting pretty even. This one in the middle is lagging just a little behind the other two, but not much. It's probably off by 10 degrees. So it's really good to know that this cooker cooks even across the grate. That would be awesome because that means I can use just about the entire cooking space to cook and know that I won't overcook or cook anything too fast, because these are pretty consistent temperatures across the board, which is very, very pleasantly surprised to see. But they say cooking on something this big is much different than your normal backyard smoker. It's more efficient, it burns wood more efficiently, and you know, you get more bang for your buck with one of these. So very happy to see what I'm seeing so far. All right, so time is passing on by and we still don't have temperature where it needs to be. Got a pretty good fire going in there, but maybe it's not enough. You know, this is a huge pit. We're maintaining around 200, a little above 200, and then 225 on the far end, but we are nowhere near 300 yet. So, and I know these large pits take about an hour to get them up to temp, so I just gotta keep playing with the fire, keep working with it, and see where we go. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get these biscuits put on and see what happens. We're gonna get them on, and I'll let you guys watch me put them on real quick. All right, we have all of our biscuits on now. We're just gonna let them cook and see what the results are. So, it's a lot of biscuits, a lot of space to fill up. I probably didn't buy enough, but I think I did a good enough job of spreading them around, and we'll see what the results are shortly. Take a look at how our biscuits are doing. We're probably like 15 minutes in. We'll look in each cooking chamber and check out how it's going. All right, let's look in the first one near the firebox. You can see these are starting to get a little brown here on this end. Obviously, it's closest to the fire, but they all starting to cook. But you can see this is a obvious hot spot here. The other ones seem to be cooking pretty evenly. Let's go in the middle chamber where this is where the least amount, the lowest temperature is. And these really don't have any dark spots on them. And let's look at the third one, where the temperature has been consistently higher than the rest of the pit. And you can see these are turning darker than the rest of them. I mean, I can actually pick this one up with my hand. It's almost done. Not almost done, but it's closer to being done than the rest of them. So we're gonna let this thing keep rocking. Another 15 minutes. Again, I'm only cooking at about 250, so we're not wide open, and that's why it's taking a little longer for them to cook, but it's still giving me a good indication of you know, which side is cooking faster. All right, guys, it's time to do a final check on our biscuit test. It was fun doing this, getting the smoker lit, running it for a while, actually maintaining a temperature, a steady temperature, understanding how slow wood burns on this thing, how efficient it is. I'm really happy to know that because, you know, outside of just learning where the hot spots are, I learned the way the smoker behaves, and I learned how efficient it is in terms of burning wood. You can put wood in here and it'll burn for about 45 minutes before you need to put some more. And on those smaller smokers that I've been using previously, every 15 minutes you got to add another stick. So this thing burns really efficient, which is great because from doing a 12-hour smoke, I know that I'm not going to burn a whole lot of wood to cook my food, which is amazing. I'm going to burn a lot. You're going to burn a lot in 12 hours, but not nearly as much as I would on a smaller smoker. That doesn't have this much thick steel and such a huge firebox and such a large cooking space. But let's take a look at the biscuits and you know, to conclude our biscuit test for today. Let's start on the far end where the firebox is. Obviously this is close to the flames. You know, I'm letting the fire kind of die out now as we have concluded the test. But as you can see, these biscuits here, they've gotten the hardest. They have the most char on them. They didn't get absolutely roasted, so that's a good thing. I mean, if I want to cook some chicken on this side, you know, I could, and it won't burn it up. And then right next to it, you got a little color. And then here, as you can tell, these getting softer and softer, and they're lighter. And then all the way, these next few coming through here are the same. And then when you get towards the end, this is where these are a little darker and harder. So, all in all, even though the temperature is really high on this end, it didn't roast them the way it did on this end. So I would probably start my meats when I start cooking for real on this thing. I'd start my meats here and avoid this section. Maybe I just put a water pan, a steam pan here or something, a moisture pan, and then start my meats here all the way down to probably like right here. Again, if I zoom out, I have cooking space from here all the way here. And then I kind of leave this part. I wouldn't put any meat here unless I just wanted to cook it fast or sear it or something like that. But all in all, pretty good biscuit test, a good indication of how the smoker cooks. And I think for the most part it cooks very even. It cooks very even. I can use 90% of the cooking space, 90 to 95% of the cooking space on this pit, which is great, which is a great thing. So that will conclude our biscuit test for the day. Thanks for joining. It was exciting. It was fun. I'm glad you guys got to come along for the ride or the journey on this one. And I appreciate you guys joining. We're going to take a look inside the smokehouse. Be doing some cleaning up there. And then we're going to finish tidying up a little bit. And then we're going to call it a day. We are inside the smokehouse. We've been cleaning up. Wife's been doing most of the cleaning up. I'm not going to take credit for it. I've been doing the biscuit test, but I've done a little bit. I've helped a tiny bit. But she cleaned up a lot in here. There was stuff everywhere. All of this stuff is gone. I mean, we still need to mop the floor, but I mean, a lot of the junk that was in the way is gone and bagged up and thrown out. So we're gonna finish trying to do a little bit more before we wrap things up and leave. But I just want to thank everyone for joining me on this biscuit test. It was fun. It was great. Had a good time doing it. I enjoyed it. And I'm glad I could bring you guys along for the ride. Next time we'll actually cook some real food. Now that I understand how the smoker behaves, where the hot spots are, how evenly it cooks, how efficiently it cooks. And we'll probably throw some ribs on or something. And then we'll try them. We'll taste them after about a low and slow 6-hour cook. And I would say that'll probably be a few weeks from now. We have 2 major catering events next week, back-to-back Saturday and Sunday. So we'll bring you behind the scenes on that as well. It should be very eventful and very fun. And just, you know, getting all that stuff done for 2 events in 1 weekend. It's going to be something. So it'll be nice for you guys to join us on that. So follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X, and of course YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, and as always, this has been Smokehouse Barbecue and Soul, where the smoke is in the meat and the soul is in the sides. Catch you on the next video. Peace.